Better late than never, better late than never, forever hard to measure. I might see my future fall away, but you control time, so my future do what you say.
So I want to dive in, man. I don't know how much I've told you about like the vision for this Better Late Than Never series. But it all starts with the music. And so when me and you connected, this is probably like small group, maybe 3, 4 years ago, when I learned that you were a producer. I was like, hold on, he ain't just a producer, like him. Because I remember you talking about your song with Lil Wayne and just different stuff you got going on. But just to get me grounded in this convo, who is Matlock, man? I kind of mentioned family and some of the production, but in your own words, who is Matlock?
Uh, I'm a competitor.
Ooh,
What I am is I grew up in a two-parent home for with the first 10, 11 years of my life. So all I knew was love, and my father was chasing music on TV, in bands, doing all kind of crazy stuff, and then my mom was, a worship leader in church. So, but they both worked crazy hours, so I spent a lot of time with my great grandparents. My great grandfather was from the South. I want to say somewhere in Alabama, but he had got a job with Conrail, which brought him to Ohio, where he built his house and started, his family there. But he had a full farm in the backyard, like garden and everything. So when I get out of school, like I was doing yard work. So that's kind of like where my work ethic came from. And then he would pay me to cut grass, and then I got the idea like, oh, is it okay if I use a lot more to cut people grass? He said, sure. So then I grabbed a couple of friends, like, hey, y'all want to make some money? We just started walking through the neighborhood cutting grass. And so that's kind of like where my hustle, my grind came from. And then, just being in the neighborhood, just wanting to compete, whether it was basketball, racing, made a mistake. My dad gave me a gi because he was in the martial arts and he told me not to wear it outside. And I wore it outside. And then I ended up having to get in a bunch of fights because everybody's like, oh, you know karate? So that was just kind of like me growing up. But then once my mom and my dad got a divorce, then that's where I kind of like the peer influence got to me. And I started, by just being my mom and her working double shifts, we also had to move into some neighborhoods that wasn't the greatest. And so then that's where lack started. And so it's like, um, being introduced to hip hop because at that point, my mom kept trying to get me to listen to gospel gangsters and all this Christian hip hop, and I was like, this is corny. And
right.
then none of my friends were talking about it, and so once I started listening to like Chell Rock and like Run DMC, like, cause I didn't even realize hip hop is only maybe 5 or 6 years older than me, if that's what I say. So
That's
anyway, uh, yeah, so like I started kind of diving into the culture, but then still being mad at my dad because he's a musician. And so I'm like, I'm not doing music. But then some of my friends wanted to rap and all of that. And I got a whole studio in the basement. Now it's the old school 4 track,
yeah,
the first version of Cakewalk. Like he had a little setup, but it wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? So um, outside of me constantly being competitive, playing sports and all of that, you know, after a while, I started playing around like, Dad, can I mess around? Sure, whatever. So when I would, his weekend, we got like 2 weekends out of the month, I would go over his house with his new lady or whatever, go in his basement because I didn't want to talk to him or her, and I would just mess around with the music. And so when I graduated, well, around 17, 18, when I graduated from high school, I was like, I want to do music. So I told him he knew some young dudes who had a studio, and that's when I started recording, rapping first. But then once he told me the business and he gave me this music business book, and I saw how much it cost, I'm like, there's no way I'm about to be able to afford this. So even the little hustling I was doing, like I knew then you needed $1,000. I'm like, well, if I'm a group, then we can cut the cost.
right.
So I ended up reaching out to some of my friends in the neighborhood, and then that's how my first rap group kind of got created.
Okay.
So that's kind of who I am with that. But I will say the whole divorce thing in the back of my head was like when I meet whoever I'm gonna be with, then I'm gonna do right by my family. And like if this is who God presents me, then I'm gonna do my part. Like I can't control what, my spouse or whatever do, but I'm gonna do my part to be the best father I can be and stay in my family's life, not chase women, those type of things. So I learned from my dad, good and bad, but the bad part of it was, he couldn't control those hormones. And so he stepped out, and that's what created all of that. And so, but also, learning this, it was after talking to him, wasn't when I once I got married and as an adult, I started understanding the whys and
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. So, but then being able to take that and be like, okay, well, I could make that same decision when I get frustrated and stuff like that, or I can just eat some humble pie and figure out what I had to play in
Mm.
that, what part of that. And so the competitive nature in me is like, okay, not saying like it's not just about me winning overall as a marriage, like, but I actually want it to be fulfilling. I want it to be meaningful. And so that's Matlock. So family, competition, and then like I know some people may look at me like, oh, you're about accolades and all of that. Honestly, I just want to be live peacefully and I want to be able to do what I want to do. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, in order to do those things, you have to have degrees and
Mhm.
you have to network. So a lot of the things I do is to get to this goal, but on the way, that's where you get the degrees, diplomas, the trophies, the so on and so forth. So that's so family, competition, uh, the music, right? But also around between 18 and 20, I had went to college. I tried to walk on basketball at University of Toledo. It was a lot more difficult than I thought. Like I could have went to could have, should have, could have went to a JUCO, uh, uh, a D3 or something like that. I had letters for basketball, but um, again, my competition and my arrogance was just like, I'm D1, right? Yeah, so that didn't really go the way I thought it had planned. And then while I was there, getting in peer influence, not saying that I'm not a leader or nothing like that, but it was just like, oh, I want to find where the party at. I'm having fun. And so first grade market period, 3 point whatever. Second, 2.8. Went home for the summer, come back. First semester of sophomore year was like a 1 point something. So you know what? I'm gonna take the semester off. And then I was back home and I was back in the neighborhood.
Mm.
So that's when I was like, all right, let me start this group or whatever, start rapping and all of that. But just being in the wrong places and stuff like that, I was just looking around. Some of my friends was getting caught up. I said, you know what, this ain't gonna work. And that's when I joined the military.
Okay.
So 2020, 2000, I was going on 21. I joined the military, and so that's the last layer. So you go family, competition, music, and then military. And so that's kind of like, and then education, I will always say, like, my mom and dad, if they ain't do anything else, they stress that, like, you have to learn.
Yeah.
And so, like, getting a degree was always, like, gonna happen for me.
Yeah.
You know how, when, or where. So that's me. I don't know if that answers the question.
It answered it and then some, man. I think like you're a phenomenal storyteller, and I think you do a really good job contextualizing. And one of the things I ain't really know about you, I see you as somebody. Obviously, I see you as a creative. I see you also as somebody that has a sense of responsibility and just being present and being intentional with their family. So those things I knew about you, but I don't necessarily know if I knew the why behind it. Like you talked about your parents' divorce being really a hinge moment where like you saw, like, with you being in Ohio, kind of the influences in the community, but simultaneously, like when you were spending time with your dad, like just the access to equipment or the recording stuff kind of piqued your curiosity. So I can kind of see what kind of seeds are planted in your life and how you chose sort of different paths. Tell me a little bit about because I always enjoy hearing the career development side of people's story. So you talked a little bit about your tenure going to Toledo, and then you kind of went back home, but then went to the military. Tell me a little bit, like, and eventually got your degree. I would love to hear from a career like growth, like how you establish your career. What experiences from going to college and being in the military kind of helped you to be successful in terms of career?
So obviously, you know, if I go back to being around my great grandfather, I got home from school around 3 o'clock. We stayed out in the yard till about 6, Monday through Friday.
Working.
So tilling the ground, pulling weeds. He had a pear tree. He had apple. I mean, a grapevine on the fence. Uh, he grew lettuce, carrots, tomatoes, or cabbage, not lettuce. Well, yeah, I think it was cabbage. Uh, Beans. So yeah, he had all of that, and so yeah, it was just like work, and he couldn't. I don't know, like as an adult now.
So, what is the Job Success Accelerator? I'm glad you asked. The Job Success Accelerator is career readiness, it's professional skills for the real world, it's communication, teamwork, and conflict navigation. The Job Success Accelerator is built with two core publications, are preparing for job success and essentials for the job search curriculum. It's proven content transformed into practice. This program gives participants the tools to land jobs and the skills to keep them. It prepares youth, young adults, and professionals in transition. We partner with local, state, and federally funded programs, with K-12 schools, universities, nonprofits, community-based organizations, one-stop operators, justice-involved programs, career, technical centers, and much more. The Job Success Accelerator is flexible, in-person or virtual, facilitated by us or licensed for your team to implement. So, what is the Job Success Accelerator? It's the difference between showing up for work and being ready for success.
I know he probably had all type of ailments, but he sat on the back like we didn't like have a back porch, it was like a concrete kind of stair thing. He sat on there with his cane and just pointed for what me to do.
Wow.
So from like 6 or 7 all the way into about 12, 13, that's what I did.
Wow.
So the work ethic was there, and then my mom and dad always working. So, and then my mom is such was such like a neat freak. So like rooms had to be clean. So it was just like always working, right? So fast forward to the military. I from 16, like I said, peer influence. So from like 16 to 21, picked up weed, right? So smoking weed all the time. So that kind of, that messes with you athletically, right? So I probably there's no telling how good I could have been, right? Coulda, woulda, shoulda. But smoking weed, drinking, doing things like that, chasing girls, all of that. So go to college and it don't work out the way I wanted it to work out. Come home and then I go right back into selling because before I left for college, like I was doing that or whatever. So I'm out here, right? So, but I was good at it. So, but I knew certain things like well, I don't want to touch cocaine because if I touch cocaine, I go to jail for a long time.
Right.
So
Right.
weed is like when people smoke weed. So at that time, I would never like bag anything up. So if I was always thinking like if I get caught, it's my personal stash. So I never travel with a whole bunch. So I'm doing all of that. Meanwhile, I'm with my friends that are selling cocaine and crack or whatever, what have you, doing the different things. And I just started noticing either if I wasn't getting robbed, they was getting robbed. People in my neighborhood was getting killed. So it's kind of like this ain't gonna work. So I woke up one morning and they always say wake and bake, right? So I'm smoking and the commercial come on like be all you can be,
Wow.
right? So I walked my high self down because it was a cruising station at the end of my street.
Okay.
I was in the neighborhood, but like down this long street to the main street. To get to Main Street, I go in there, I'm looking around. They're like, "Can I help you?" Now, mind you, I got good grades through high school, and I took the ASVAB before I graduated. So I had an ASVAB test on record.
Okay.
So he like, "What can we do?" I was like, "I think I want to join the army, because those 2 years I was in school." I lost my academic scholarship. So I ended up being on the hook so I couldn't go back to school. So I'm like, what, how I'm gonna pay for this? So, like I heard about the reserves, they give you loan repayment, so on and so forth. He said, I got one question for you. Can you pass the drug test? I was like, uh, how soon? He's like, don't worry about that. He's like, so you want to go active duty? I was like, nah, I don't go active duty because the group I'm in right now, we just won a BT talent show, went to LA, got to meet AJ and Free. So that thing kind of popping, but it's slow because like we found out, all the labels want us to get scans. Like they want to know how many albums we sold, and we don't have a distribution company. So I'm thinking like this would just be like a short term I can go because basic training only like 8 weeks or something, right? Then my school, whatever I pick, could be like 8 weeks. I'll be back in less than 6 months, and then I have some extra money. I can help my group, and we can do that. He said, "Man, go active duty. I'm telling you. You heard of Mystical? He was active duty. You heard of this person? He was active duty." I'm like, nah. I don't want to do this full time, man. Like, cause once me and my group take off, and I make enough money, I'm gonna just buy my way out.
Mm-hmm.
He said, all right. So I go to the military. I become a little institutionalized. I learn military. I come back and I saved my money while I was there. Bought my first Triton
Okay.
and bought some equipment. And cause before I left, we would go to the studio. Every studio wanted to buy a beat. They wanted $300 to $500. If you didn't buy a beat from them, they was like, well, here go the studio equipment. You had to pay for an engineer. He was just standing there. What you want me to do? I'm like, y'all got music? Well, no, we don't have music. Well, you can make a beat. Here go the equipment. Well, how you use it? I mean, I can tell you what sounds, but you got to do it.
Wow.
So, and then that was $60 to $70 an hour for the B room. The A room was like 150.
Wow.
So, I'm like, man, there's no way we can afford this. To print out CDs, it was to get 1,000 copies, you needed 1,500 bucks, and there was no guarantee that anybody was gonna buy them. And then you had to get a cover, so it wasn't no cell phones back then to do like to take your own pictures. Well, how much a photo shoot cost? Oh, that's gonna be about $200-300. So like everything was racking up. And then back then they had actual street teams. So I was like, man, how we get posters? Oh, for 1,000 posters, you need about $1,000. So we just like, man, like we either gonna have to go out here and get busy in the neighborhood. And so we started messing around with investors, but the investors wanted to tell you what to do, what music to make, and it just is like we gotta do this ourselves. So join the army, come back, buy the Triton. So I'm like, well, I've been messing around making my own beats. So I learned the Triton, and so pretty much produced the first album of me and my group, The Chrome. And so from that, we started like, bubbling or whatever. And yeah, it became like local. We weren't famous and like that, but locally, we were on the radio. We was doing intros for the DJs. And so I'm trying to make sure I'm answering your question. So all of that, like just the discipline of the work ethic, um, translating into music, attaching, like finding out what I need to do, talking to my dad because he was a band leader. Then we actually connected on the music level because now he talking to me like, well, gotta make sure you got this, you gotta do this. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, I don't really know too much about that rap stuff, but music is music. You gotta, talk to the promoters. You gotta do this. So, that's kind of how that happened. And then as far as career wise, I joined the military. So now I'm around people I wouldn't have normally been around. So even though it's 1 month, 1 week in a month. I'm around Caucasians because I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood. So, like, the only white people that I was around were people that worked at stores or the supervisor or the managers. So, being able to talk to them, and then also, uh, yeah, we might have had maybe 5 or 6 Hispanics in my high school. Like, I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood. So, like, now in the army, I'm exposed to Africans, Asians, Caucasians, all different nationalities, and everybody talking from different perspectives. And then the older military people, they are like sergeants, right? So they're in the work. They already have their degrees, and they're So then you get mentorship, and they're like, okay, so how long you plan on being in the military and stuff like that? I'm like, I don't know, like asking you questions you didn't think of. So that's what kind of planted seeds, just being around different people, and then knowing like, okay, there's something different out here. They talking about real estate, they talking about stocks, stuff. Unfortunately, my parents didn't really teach me or my sister or my little brother financial literacy. So that's where like the bit like so now I'm talking to them about different things, different arenas, but I'm still, working a regular job back home and trying to do music and the reserve is like, okay, some gotta shake. So now I'm doing great at my jobs, but they won't promote me. And the
Mm,
biggest reason why they say they won't promote me is because I don't have a degree.
mm,
Okay. What so
So
happened next?
so I mean, I fought it. I'm like, well, I just, I'll go to this job. I'll make it all the way up to a trainer. I did that like 3 or 4 times, from working at Target to Home Depot to the Plain Dealer, which was the newspaper in Cleveland. Just different jobs where progressive, where I'm learning at the job, I maximize it. I'm getting awards. I'm like top performer. Supervisor position come available. I put in for it, I don't get it. So then one of my buddies who went to John Carroll, who ended up becoming an HR professional, he started doing mock interviews with me. He's like, "You're interviewing well." He's like, "You just don't got a degree."
Yeah. Yeah.
So aside from the music and the success, by the time I was married, because I'm jumping around times, right? We had little William. So this is after the Wayne stuff and all of that, because we had his career. By the time I got to about 34, 35, and like we still, me and V together, V as in Vondra, we're making less than probably 50 grand a year together. And when I got married, I stopped selling, I stopped smoking. I still would drink every now and then, but all of the extracurricular activities stopped, right? And so I'm like, how am I supposed to take care of this kid and his wife? And we living off 140th in St. Clair, which a lot of people know 99th because of Bone, even though they grew up off 104th, 102nd. 140th, they call it Faux Block, is probably like one of the worst neighborhoods to live in. That's where we living at with a toddler, and I'm working at Home Depot, and she working at the mall or CVS or something. I can't remember, Walgreens.
Man. Grinding.
So yeah, so I'm like, so Indiana Wesleyan.
It was good, family. God has called me to help people to align and maximize their calling with their purpose. And one of the ways that I do that is through writing. My first book is called Purpose Driven Work, which focuses on helping people to get unstuck in their dreams, callings, and their careers. My second book is Purpose Driven Coaching, which really focuses on helping educators, leaders, and workforce development professionals to use coaching to make an impact on individuals' lives. And then lastly, my most recent book is called On Purpose Leadership, which I wrote with my homeboy Vad Lee, which focuses on cultivating leadership for teams and organizations. You guys can purchase any one of my books on Amazon. Y'all be blessed out here, man.
Commercial come on, talking about some, well, if you have prior, credits, it's an adult program, it's accelerated. You go to school 1 day a week.
Okay.
There's an actual school. It's just like University of Phoenix, but it's an actual school in Indiana. It's a Christian school, Indiana Wesleyan. And when you finish, it's like an 18-month program. You get a bachelor's degree, and it's the same bachelor's degree that the kids go when they come out of high school and they go to Indiana Wesleyan, the actual campus.
Right.
So I said, oh, 4 hours a week. So around 32, 33, I started going to school and got my bachelor's degree really quick. And then they also had a program where if you stay with them, you can get your master's. You don't have to take the GMAT, I think it's called. So I just rolled right into the master program. So so I got my master's in 2015.
Okay.
So that was 10 years ago. I'll be 47 this year, so 37. Yeah, so from like 32 to 37 ish, I got my bachelor's and my master's, and went from working at Progressive, who wouldn't hire me as a supervisor, to getting a job at Department of Labor, to now getting a job at the Defense Logistics Agency, and now within 3.5 years doing something which I was told is kind of unheard of. Now finally I got the supervisor position back in October.
Wow.
So yeah, in the course of 4 years, I went from 45,000 to I'm at 93 at one job, and then the reserves give me 20, so I'm over 100,000 a year the last 2.5, 3 years.
Man. Bro, that is I think it's so cool hearing your story because like I don't know how much I told you, like I'm a career coach, so like how like me helping and talking to people trying to get from point A to point B, oftentimes it's not like a straight path. And so I heard a lot about like your natural skills, like your work ethic is kind of your backbone that your granddad and your parents really infused in you. But then you talked about like when you went to the military, it was kind of a culture shock, but your personality is one where it's like I'm gonna embrace this, I'm gonna lean into it, and that exposure, it seems like it helped you to learn how to communicate and relate with others. And like as you know, in the corporate world, whether you work for the federal government or healthcare, whatever industry, you need to learn how to like develop relationships and be around people that are very, very different from you, even if you don't necessarily like them. So I say that from a skill standpoint. I think like, man, your skills of you being intentional with putting them on your toolkit over time is really phenomenal. I think it's great for people to hear. But then secondly, um, like being, I guess, having a foresight, because I've seen a lot of people where they might not get promoted and they have the great work ethic like yourself, but the barrier is like you don't got the degree. And I see people really fight against that. Like, man, my degree shouldn't matter. And in theory, it shouldn't, right? Like, organizations should hire, for your competency and your skill set. But the reality is, we're still competing against every other person that's applying for those jobs. But you took you had the foresight to say, all right, I'm gonna figure this out. Like, I'm going to problem solve, and it's taken you 10 years, like from the point where you enrolled and got your undergrad to complete your master's. Like you had the foresight but also the patience and work ethic, and now like that's been a blessing to your family, and now your kids probably have the expectation like, okay, I see what Pops did. Like college is a guarantee. So you just kind of really set the standard for your family, man, through your own pathway. I'm curious because like obviously I want this convo. I want to have this convo to obviously learn more about Matlock and for your story to kind of be an example. But I love the buckets, meaning we're talking a little bit about like influences of career, like your background, how you got there, and the creative side. I would love to like talk a little bit about like the production. Prefacing this, so I graduated college in 2010. So in that time, I got to experience Mr. Wheezy F Baby quite often, and you were one of those force multipliers in his career. With was it on The Drought Is Over Part Two? With one of your
Yeah.
songs?
Well, yeah, well, so You Nasty was the first song I got leaked, and
Okay,
I had Boo, it had Wayne, it had I can't think of their names. Um, Dang, I used to spill it off the top of
I mean,
uh I can't think of their names, but it was about four of Young Money, early Young Money that
wow.
was on it. And yeah, and then the Carter 2 came out and I produced Oh No on that. And then getting ready to go on the Carter 3, uh it was was it called Fire? Um I'm showing my age now. But it was another record with him and Mac Main. That's what it was, Mac Main. Currency was on You Nasty.
Okay.
Currency, Boo, Mac Main, Wayne. And then on Carter 2 was just Wayne. And then the Fire song had Mac Main and Wayne on it. That was
Bro,
supposed to go into Carter 3. Um,
you had
but
re-
that's a
I
whole
didn't
nother
realize you
story.
had multiple records. Let's zoom out a little bit. Talk a little bit about like you getting in connected with artists, you being able to get placements. Like fast track us a little bit about like your producer career and developing these relationships and how it kind of came to fruition with these records.
So So the way the music went was, like I said, I chased it as an artist first, right? So we were recording at a studio that was like downtown Cleveland, and it was cool. But then once I got into my group, we started looking for other places. So we found this guy named Diap, and he had his own studio called Ohio Sound Lab. And he was another like neighborhood guy who turned hustling into music and built a whole studio. But he also had a team. He had a team of producers. One of the guys that was on his team, his name was Yanni. And so when we were buying beats from him, we didn't know who we were buying. Like he was making some of the beats, but he had like a piano player. He had different people, and he was charging like 200 some dollars a beat. And so we would buy one or two beats. We would go buy like 2 hours of studio time, go sit there and listen.
Man,
So that we already at like 100 in the hole.
golly.
And then we're just listening to beats. And so this is part of me going to the army. So this is like I think I was a supervisor. I was working at what's called Progressive Field now, but with the Indians. Not the Indians, they call it the Guardians now. So yeah, I was working at the baseball field. So we would get off and go to the studio. And so we spending money just to listen to beats. I'm like, man, it's gotta be a easier, like a more productive way. We gotta make our money straight. Long story short, he had a team of producers and other people that would, drop beats off of him for him to sell because he was like a hub. Rappers would come and they would need beats. And so he would play beats, and then he had some other deal with them that maybe he split with him or whatever. But by recording with him, I got cool with Yanni, knowing like, oh, he the one producing some of our songs, right? So I go to the military, I come back. Now, mind you, before that, from 15, well, 12 all the way to 16, I'm making beats on the first cakewalk.
Yeah.
The beats is trash.
Oh, hey, it's you again. The one that is watching this content but ain't subscribed to the channel. Listen, I'm a YouTube embryo, but I have dreams of one day being a full-grown YouTube man. In order to get there, I need your help. Subscribe to the channel. I am trying to help people in their dreams, their callings, and careers, and to help scale that growth, all you got to do is help a brother by hitting that subscribe button. Bless your brother so I can bless others. It's that simple. Be blessed.
But my dad had a 4-track machine. I would whatever. I didn't know any chords. You
Yeah.
know, Sometimes I have him come play because he played every instrument, but my I always made my drums sound good. And so I knew how to make beats, but I never used like Pro Tools was the first version. It was like point 2.0 back then. So like all of the digital stuff, everything was outboard at the time. Yeah, so ADATs. So like some of my first recordings are on ADATs. And the studio you had to spend more money for the studio that had like the different towers. Like some only had 24 tracks, some people had 48, but they were like actual towers with ADATs. Yeah, so it was crazy. So yeah, so let me fast forward. So I get cool with Yanni, right? I go play Army, I come back, I got my money, my signing bonus, all of that. I buy my Triton. So now we don't have to spend $200 and $300 on the studio. So now I'm cooking up beats on my Triton. They sounding terrible, but I'm getting better. And which I actually got my Triton back now because my dad had that, I gave it to him, but now I got it back. But yeah, so I got the little card. I'm making beats. Then I'm like, I want an NPC. I end up getting an NPC, so I'm cooking. And so then my group, instead of going to the studio, they come into my house, my little apartment. And so I have a hiccup because now we cooking from 2001 to a little bit before 2003. Now we doing shows. We winning talent shows. We cooking. And then I get deployed.
Oh,
So I go play Army for all of 2003, right? So we still ain't put out no project, nothing.
yeah.
We just performing the songs that we made. I get back in 2004 and we put out. I said, we putting out because I wasn't the group leader. We had managers, we had investors, but I was getting frustrated because we kept making songs. At this point we probably had over 60 songs.
Okay.
but
Wow.
nothing pressed up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm coming home. I done saved a couple, some money from being deployed. I'm putting out a project. And if we don't put out a group project, I'm gonna put out my project. So the whole time while I'm overseas, I'm writing.
Okay.
And so I write a whole album. I get the artwork done for it. I show them. They call time out and have a whole meeting like, okay, okay, okay. We gotta put the group out first. And so even then, I understood it was backhand slight, but me knowing I really don't want to be like, it was never my goal to be like a superstar for real.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm introverted. I want the benefits. Like I want to be able to go like live where I want to live, do what I want to do. But do I really like I saw how it tore my dad, my family up. I don't really want to be on the road like that. I don't, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, all right, they kind of saying they don't want me to get famous, right?
Mm. You.
But whatever. I said, all right, well, as long as y'all pick the songs, because I'm paying for it.
Yeah.
So I said my album is coming out on this day. So if our project is done by then, so we ended up putting out the Chrome first album and my album at the same time. So
Okay.
now I got cool. It was a girl I was talking to. She used to throw shows every Tuesday and Thursday at this like bar, but at the it was like a two level bar, but the bottom was like a little stage, and then the sound man was like a little to the back. And at first she used to be like, "Can you do sound for me?" Because she know I was a producer, and I was trying to like produce her, but she never picked any of my records. But one time her sound man wasn't there. So she asked me to do her sound. So I started doing her sound. So then one day she was like, "You got any music you want to perform?" I'm like, sure. So I started doing a song off of my project. I
Wow.
started building my own little fan just in that little area. And so my group came one time and was like, "Man, when you been doing this?" So long story short, our CD and then my one dude, he was a big networker. He ended up getting cool with somebody at the radio station. It's like, let us do your intro. So we did that. And so our name started like bubbling around the city.
Okay.
And so Yanni was working at the airport. So I'm tying it together. He's
Okay.
working at the airport. Now he was a rapper, but he went to the Cleveland's version of Appomattox, the Cleveland School of Arts. That's where the singer Avant came from. That's where Sherry Dennis, some of the people from Cleveland came from, that school. So he knows how to play the piano. He can sing a little bit, like he's a musician. And so he was one of the producers that was producing my group early on, right? So, but we got cool, and so I used to go over his house because he was producing all these different artists in the city, and we would just play video games and all that. He comes to me one day like, "Hey man, you produced a whole album for your group?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Why don't you give me some of them?" Like, I'll be meeting people at the airport.
Okay.
I'll put your beats on the beats with mine, and it'll be that. So that's what he did. So he ran into Tez, Mac Main, and Wayne off the airport one day. Tried to
Wow.
talk to Wayne. Wayne said, "Go talk to them over there." So he went and talked to Tez. Tez gave him the email. He sent the CD. Tez called him back, said he wanted like 8 or 9 joints off of there.
Wow.
2, 3 of them was mine. So Wayne was doing the show like maybe a couple weeks after that. He said, "Hey man, we gotta go." So I went with him. And so we get down there, we go to the studio. Ted's like, "All right, how much you want for the beats?" And take care of them right there in the hotel. Right. So mind you, that's that. We do the show. We watch Wayne rock out. We go back to the hotel. We walked in. We went to the show together. All of that. We get back home. Now we wait. This was
Yeah.
2004. We wait. Early 2004. So all of 2004 ago, we hear nothing. Meanwhile, I'm steady giving them beats to seeing da da da. Da. So I want to say end of 2004, early 2005. Now, mind you, his dad, well, Yanni's dad used to work at Progressive as a security guard. He got him a job up there because, he was in between jobs, the airport and all that. And so I needed a second job. And so now he like, I can get you up there. So now we both up there, but we janitors. We cleaning the trash.
Hub.
So
I love it.
so he calls me one day and I'm like on a different floor. He said, "Hey man, I got some I got some good news." I said, "What's the news?" He is like, "You Wayne's producer." Now, mind you, Wayne done already broke bread with him, gave him all the money, his manager, all of that. He been selling beats, more beats than I even know about. He didn't already had a couple placements. He had a song with a group called 216, who they song got played on The Longest Yard, the movie, the soundtrack. It played during the movie. We went to the movie and heard a little snippet. It was like, so he's having success. And then I think Ray Cash came out first. He had a song on that album. So he's having success. Mind you, we just kind of sitting in the limbo, like what's going on with the Wayne stuff. So he said, "Hey man, one of your songs Wayne used." I'm like, "So can I quit?" He said, "No, it's bad news because back then I think you can I forget it was a bunch of different sites that you can like download music illegally, piracy or whatever. So at that time, what we didn't know was Wayne was going through like label disputes because he had all of the mixtapes
Yeah.
and the labels wouldn't put the Universal wouldn't put them out. So he finally put the Carter one out, and then I think he still was doing the mixtape trying to build hype or whatever. So he was purposely leaking songs, building like getting
Mm,
people, you know what I mean? So You Nasty got leaked. So immediately he said that the next day I go, back then you used to have urban stores at the mall and all that. I hear You Nasty everywhere in cars, because at the time he's the hottest rapper.
yeah, for
But
sure.
no, but no contract, no nothing.
So
We reach out to Cash Money. They say we don't know how it got leaked.
wow. So with from that placement right there, did it lead to future opportunities? Because I mean, you said there was more. You had more placements. Like, what did it lead to? Like after that?
So it turned the local scene crazy because now we getting invited to, you know, the local gatekeepers. Like hey, we bringing this artist. So and back then we had the sidekick. So now I'm leading with producer of Unasty for Lil Wayne with Currency, Boo, and Mac Main on it. So that's what I'm leading with when I'm talking to people. Yeah, I'm a producer. Oh yeah, we hear you. Yeah, I just did a record with Wayne. What song? You Nasty. Oh, you did that joint? Yeah, here go my info. So now where I was selling beats for 50 bucks, now I'm selling them for 200, 500, and I'm getting it.
Wow.
And then he getting it. So now we together. So now there's the hate in the city. Oh man, like you ain't that raw. Like you just raw because of Yanni. And Yanni is that dude. He produced Say Off for Trey songs. So he's that dude. So yeah, we moving around the city. He like, man, I got some interest in LA. Oh, let's go. I got some interest in New York. Let's go. Like, so we just going. Wherever the city, the state, we just going. Mind you, this is leading up to I still haven't met Vondra yet. So 2005. So then he finally lets us know around June-ish that we made the Carter 2.
Wow. So hold on. From the beginning of 2024 to June of 2025, like that's the length of time of like the Carter 2 placement. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, so it was like, yeah, and we didn't know what was going to be picked at the time. So Yanni produced Mo Fire, yeah, Easy. So he produced that, and I did Oh No. And so we finally tell us. So I'm like, all right, where the contracts? So we go June, July, August. I'm like, where the
It was good, family. Better Late Than Never is more than just an album. It's a concept that it's never too late for us to change our mindsets and our lifestyles. This project was exclusively produced by my homeboy, Matlock, who has produced for some of the best artists in the world, including Lil Wayne. You guys can catch this project and stream it on all platforms, including Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, you name it, it's there. As you guys tune in to Better Late Than Never, it's my prayer that this project helps you to live a purpose-driven life. Be blessed.
contracts? So then finally, the album, I think we signed a contract after the album came out.
Bro, that is wild.
I mean, we got our producer fee and all of that. Can't remember the time frame, but I feel like it was late because me and Yanni, I started feeling the way, not knowing we both didn't know the industry. We didn't know how it worked. We wasn't signed to no label, no like we were like outside guys. We had no connection to the industry at all. You see what I'm saying? Yanni's uncle I'm gonna say was, is a big engineer. Like he do all of the big concerts when they come. Like he traveled, you know what I mean? So his son, Duran Bernard, who's like killing it right now, alternative music a little bit, but he's a singer. But yeah,
Like they like looking back, like they say Cash Money, or they use Baby for example, like they have a lot of lawsuits when it comes to music. So the fact that like you have a real life example of like the album is out, but no paperwork on, compensation and contract terms, like months later, that it don't surprise me, but it just blows my mind how that works as a artist and a producer. You know what I'm saying?
well, the level of like space in between. So it's not like so one, I went through my friend, so he has a direct contact. So I don't even know what type of pressure he has because, we had a mutual agreement, split 50-50. So, but I don't have, I didn't get a relationship with Tez and Mac Main until later. Initially, not saying he gatekeeped it or anything like that. It was his contact. So I was going through him. So I'm just on the outside, like, yo, this don't feel right. Then we found out that Wayne hadn't even got paid. So it wasn't like, it was just us. But and then even going down to the Hit Factory, and we supposed to have a whole session with with Birdman, and we pull up, and he in the car. We say, "What's up?" He said, "Yeah, I'll be in there." And then we go in there, and we sitting there, Slim on the couch. We sitting around for like 30 minutes, and then the engineer Fabian and them, they like, "Yo, what y'all brought something to work on?" We had a meeting, like we was gonna play some records, or whatever. And we was just like, so,
What's up?
and he like, well, y'all can cook up or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, Yanni, you can cook up. I'm not like, my dad told me, whatever you play in that studio, they own. Because he used to play some stuff for Levert and them.
Mm,
And I wasn't there, so I don't know what happened. But I just know my dad never got any credit on any of the Levert albums.
wow.
So I'm just like, I'm not playing that. And y'all look at me, I ain't playing that. So then the engineer like, well, what Birdman say? He said, the head in there, he'll be back. And they just put their hands up like, so we didn't do nothing that day. Meanwhile, Rihanna walking past, this Sierra was it like it was all many people in the Hit Factory that night. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. So we still ended up, letting them hear some music at some point on that trip. But yeah, then when we start asking for a mechanical, it was just like, well, Hurricane Katrina messed our office up, so we don't have any records. So that's a whole nother story of how we finally ended up getting paid and all of that. But yeah, so all that ended up doing was I was able, because at that time, so 2005, I'm able to just tell people like, yeah, I produced Lil Wayne. So that opened up when I'm going to shows, meet and greets, because I don't have anybody. I'm not signed to but we were not signed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So whenever, and then me and Yanni got real good at, well, he learned how to turn a MP3 into an AMR file. That was the only file that could be transferred on a sidekick, T-Mobile sidekick. And it only gave you about 6 seconds. So we would bounce our beats out in 6 seconds. So you will just get like, boom, 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 boom.
And that's it.
That's it. So we guessing people's sidekick handles. Guess Carrie Hilson. It was right. She show up in Cleveland. We go meet her. We in backstage with her. We hanging out. She like, oh, this Lil Wayne producer. This, you know what I mean? Like we meeting this person. We guessing everybody. Like we guessing, and it's right. I guess Babs for making a band, cause making a band was hot back then. Me and her, we still cool to this day. I can FaceTime her right now. So like, but she never, and what's funny, none of these people ever asked how we got their information. Because in their mind, if you got it, we must have gave it to you because there's no way that they like we were guessing. And so that's how we were, oh, that's hot. Like, yeah, well, what's your email? So now we sending beats through email. So the way I met Trina, I found like I was a fanboy first before it's Trina. So um found out she was doing a press run for that song. She had Here We Go with Kelly Rowland. She's coming to Cleveland. I'm like, she doing a meet and greet. I'm there. Meanwhile, Yanni's still working at the airport. I'm still working over here. So and every now and then he would need a ride or whatever. And so that particular day he asked me to pick him up. I'm like, I'll pick you up, but I'm going to this meet and greet. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna see if I can find another ride. I was like, okay. So I'm on my way downtown to the meet and greet. He like, Lock, you think you can pick me up? I said, I'm going to this meet and greet. He
Right.
said, all right. Now, if where I learned how to network came from him.
Mm.
So he was the person like how like I don't know if you prepared for this, but you are asking questions, but you know how most people on podcasts or even newscasters, they prepare for their interviews. So they go and do research and they find out who they talking to before they talk to them, right? So he always did that. Like we get around random people. We get around Diggy Simmons. He started naming like the third guitarist on the fourth album, and you'd be like,
You know that.
and he told me later on, he was like, always try to find a connection. So like when he dealt with 216, the rap group that had a Universal deal, he remembered one of the A&Rs that was also A&R in the project for Chris Brown or something. So
Mhm.
when he got around the person that was for Chris Brown, he like, yeah, Johnny such and such, da da da. He like, oh, you know him? Yeah. So then, people would fact check and be like, this dude named Johnny, and so it just kept connecting. So I just would watch and be like, oh wow. So anyway, long story short, pick him up. We go to the meet and greet. We in line. And this dude, Yanni, always pick with him because he strategically places himself in front of me in line. Now, mind you, he ain't want to go.
Right. Right. Right.
So 1079 is like the 105.7 here. It's like the hip hop and R&B station. They bring the people for meet and greet. We get to the front of the line. Everybody taking pictures, hugging. Yanni goes, "Hey Trina, nice to meet you. I'm Wayne's producer. I produced Mo Fire on the Carter too." She said, "Say what?" Now, mind you, this is when she was dating Wayne, so she got a Lil Wayne chain on. So she like, go stand over there. So I listen. I'm like, so I come up. She said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "I'm Matlock, and I also produce with Wayne. That's my partner right there." I did. Oh no. She said, "Oh no." I said, "Yeah." She said, "Go stand over there." So we both go stand over there. And then maybe 3 or 4 fans later, 1079 said, "Everybody out. Thank y'all for coming. Trina is getting ready to go. Da da da. Thank y'all, whatever." So we standing there, people being, escorted out. 1079 people come up to us like, "Hey, y'all two, y'all gotta go." She say, They don't gotta go nowhere. They with me."
Wow. Wow.
I said, "Oh." Me and y'all look at each other like, okay, we with Trina. All right. So then after everybody leave out, it's just us, her, and her bodyguard and her manager. We exchange information, all of that. And then that's how I ended up producing the because I'm flying her records because now I have her direct.
Wow. Bro, that's
So
so.
but Yanni was a little bit better at networking. So he got so cool with her. He ended up going to an event with her, and that's how he ended up meeting Missy. I was married at the time, so it was certain things. I wasn't able to just like be hitting her up all the time,
Mhm.
and I was a little scared too because I didn't want to turn her off. Like, I'm
If you're listening to this video or watching this video, you are part of what I call the better late than never journey. And as a part of that journey, not only do I have these dope podcast interviews and these individuals from all walks of life, I also have a book that captures this, that's meant to really help all of us in our dreams, callings, and careers, and probably most importantly, to navigate those 3 things as we wrestle with our relationship with time. So It's taken me quite some time to publish this book, to really write this book and to publish it. But it's coming soon. If you look behind me, you guys can kind of see I'm working diligently behind the scenes. You all can pre-order the book now. I got more than half of the book written. My goal is to publish this book November 2026. So tap in. If you want your copy of Better Late Than Never, Overcoming Fear and Failure to be the best version of yourself, go ahead and pre-order that book. You guys can support the movement and probably most importantly, help yourselves as you live out your dreams, callings, and careers. Talk to you soon. Be blessed.
I'm hitting her up too much. So I ended up getting cool with one of her dudes that helps with the creative process. And so next thing you know, you ain't talking about nothing. I sent that record, and that ended up being the Kaya disc.
Whoa. Wait,
And so
you did that, bro?
yeah, yeah, you ain't talking about nothing, nothing. Um, so we fly to Miami for the album release. We in VIP with Trina, Flow Rider, what's the there's another one, whatever his name,
DJ
the
Khaled?
DJ Khaled. Um, back then I think Flavor of Love was popping, so all of them girls, Boots, all of them was there. Like we kicking it.
Man.
And then the next day, me and Yanni go to Best Buy, and my song ain't on the album.
Oh,
I text Trina, I said, hey, I don't want to bother you, but my song ain't on the album. Now I done got paid. I done signed contracts. Yes, it is. So, that's where I learned, like, sometimes the artists don't necessarily be having all the input when it comes to like, because they have a team, so the team be doing stuff sometimes. The artists don't be, always connected. So, long story short, I ended up being on because they were scared to put it on the main version because it was a disc. So, I don't know if they just didn't want to give Kia that much, you know.
that makes sense.
So, it was only available at Best Buy and Target.
Bro, that is wild. Matlock is wild because like the era that you're in, you had to do a lot of physical networking to get traction. And then on top of that, it's like you you I wouldn't say, I guess luck ain't the word, like, but being in the right place, like positioning yourself in the right place. And that, I think that's kind of like, I hear stories about that, but like you actually have multiple examples between the airport situation and then like you physically going to the meet and greet. That's so wild to me, man. I'm curious, like, where, like, you talked a little bit about um being married, you didn't want to be pressed up on like just hitting his artists up, Trina up all the time. And you also talked about certain events that I don't know if you felt comfortable or whatever, or just your schedule. Um, what's fast track like for you career wise, where like, I guess I don't know if you made a conscious choice, but you're in the industry, whether you are kind of an outsider or not, how you see yourself, you have success. But like fast track, what's been your, I guess, decision for how you've navigated your career with like trying to go all in with the industry versus you're an artist still, but more of an independent artist and producer. Kind of tell me a little bit about like the career trajectory you've chosen.
Well, not to give anybody a negative outset, but just being around that, seeing how hard you gotta work just to um get what you work for, turn me off. And then also being around other different musicians, artists, and also knowing my father's story, it didn't bode well for their relationships and their marriages and things of that nature. And then also just knowing that, like, yeah, all of those experiences were cool and seeing all of these people, but it also wasn't like something that I looked at like I can do this for the rest of my life. Like it's like it's cool, but then who just wants to be in the club? Like at some point you're gonna get older, and then just hearing this over and over like a broken record. Like how long you in town for, right? And so I'm like, well, I leave Sunday. Dang. because we in the studio all day tomorrow. So those were decisions where it's like, well, if I stay, I gotta rebook a flight. I already done spent about $1,500 to get here. Don't have a hotel. My wife and my kids are at the house. I gotta explain this to them, and I still gotta pay my mortgage at some point.
Yeah, you
So these are the decisions where you say, oh, okay, not saying that you can't be like an Ice Cube or even a Snoop, but we all seen, their marriages and what happened in those situations. But at some point you gotta make that decision where it's like, I'm gonna just put it all on the line. And I would say that would be my biggest uh, good and bad, right? So I've never jumped all the way in.
yeah,
But that's also the reason why I feel like I don't have jump all the way in success. I have success. I don't have jump all the way in. Jump on all the way in means like by any means necessary. Oh, Nelly say we gonna be in the studio tomorrow. Okay, I ain't going nowhere.
yeah,
And then Nelly never show up because he forgot because he was. This ain't happened for real. I'm just saying because a lot of that like is it's just being there. And so, like my friend, when he finally moved out to LA, I mean, he has had anybody you can think of in the studio,
mhm,
right? And recorded, did sessions, and has probably over 100 placements. Like songs with these people, but only probably five of them have made on the album, or you know what I'm saying, or whatever. Like whatever, it's like the amount of work. And I'm not saying that as a deterrent. I'm just saying like when I look at that lifestyle, like my dad passed away, still talking about his artist.
yeah,
That him and his friend they started Boom Records, and that they were I put out this 40-something-year-old artist.
yeah,
And I had to talk to my dad, even knowing he was sick, trying not to be negative Nancy, because I'm like, Dad, you need $250,000 to push an artist.
yeah,
There's no way around it.
yeah,
It is not. So knowing that and also being introverted, not really wanting to be in the forefront. As a producer, I said, oh, I can stay in this lane. I can just produce records. But once I started learning, like, oh, I gotta be there. Even when I moved here, I networked a little bit. It was a kid I met at one of the A3C conferences in Atlanta, and he told me he lived in Richmond. So when I forgot he followed me. So when I got here, I posted like, hey, I'm in Richmond. I'm trying to get some of this Timberland Neptune type, connections out here, where the music scene at. And he was the first one to respond. So I ended up meeting all these different people, network, building somewhat of a musical network here. And it was cool. But then I started seeing it like, I'm in my 40s now. I don't really want to be downtown Richmond coming home smelling like, weed and alcohol and then some of the spots not even open. And I only been here 4 years because they didn't have been shooting and stuff like that. So I'm just like, it just ain't. Now I'll just to answer your question, just still make my music. I'll still send beats out. It's a blessing to meet you, Chauncey, Drew. Some people that still make music that can put it out and don't necessarily like. It ain't even about like the money thing at this point because it's like I know that at any point any of these songs could blow up, but the likelihood of it is like hitting the lottery because you almost have to force it. Money Long's Hours and Hours, she put 200 some thousand into it. Cardi
yeah,
B, there's no Bodak Yellow wasn't even on this. It was like top 100. Soon as she signed with Atlantic, it went to number 1. But she had to put 200 some thousand just to get it to chart on that mixtape. There's no way around it from an independent standpoint. You gotta have the funds.
yeah, yeah,
So that's kind of where it was just like, all right. And then this whole time, so like I said, Carter 2 came out in December 2005. I met Vondra in October of 2005. We got married in January. I mean, in February. I proposed to her in January. So I didn't even get a chance to be a celebrity, to be honest with you. I'm going to shows and she there.
hmm,
Like, oh, I gotta go meet Trina real quick. She in the lobby. I'm going to the hotel room.
yeah, yeah,
So and I want to do the right thing. So I'm purposely not staying. I'm purposely not, and anytime like I went to go do a show with Trina or whatever, she was with me. So Trina know Vondra, Remy Ma know Vondra. Like the people that I was around, my wife was right there.
That's dope, man. That's dope.
So
And I appreciate you sharing that. I learned so much about like just your journey in the industry, but even more about like you as the person. I've always seen you as somebody with like a strong sense of like work ethic and responsibility, but somebody that's like just standing on values, man. I think you used the word in terms of like how you've navigated your career, like the cost in terms of work. I would say it was probably you saw the return on investment because it's not necessarily a lack of work ethic because you've like that's what you're about. One of the words that you use is, competition is something that you value, and that's propelled like you being inquisitive to gain skills and navigate your career, gain education, things of that nature. But I do think it's helpful no matter what we talk about in terms of arts or career, like what's the return on investment? What will it cost you? Because that's what I heard from you. And I think also the cool thing is I want to encourage you, man, because none of your skills and experience that you've acquired from learning how to be an artist and a producer are wasted at all. Because you kind of come through a very like I'm gonna just say old school where you've had to physically like you talked about like the technology one in the studio is like you had to like learn the analog stuff and learn keys, but then you talked about networking, physically being in the right place. None of that stuff is lost, man. I think like what you have in terms of subject matter expertise is going to be beneficial in some shape or fashion as a entrepreneur. And I just want to encourage you in that, man. And because nowadays with technology, it's so many ways to sort of educate and help people and coach people. Because I see you as a thought leader and a coach with your expertise. That I want to encourage you in that, man. Because so many, especially like here where we live in Richmond, it's young cats that's what they see, that's what they dream to be, but they can benefit so much from mentorship and coaching. So I just want to encourage you in that, man. I do want to land the plane because we both got families. I don't be mindful of our time. Be like one piece of advice that you would give to I'm gonna just say like to anybody that is where we are in life that's maybe has a family but very creative navigating career. What kind of advice would you want to give from your own story to that person?
one thing I haven't really said, but just a spiritual ground in Jesus, like um my mom made me go to church, so I didn't know why or so that was always there. And even when I backslid and was doing everything, there was moments where I mean, it was a moment where for about 2 or 3 years, when I would go and be at a show with Trina, whether it was in, I don't know, Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, wherever, she'd be like, he don't drink,
Trina.
like literally, or he married, like she was on that kind of stuff. So, like, or like people saying, "Oh, I'm sorry," when they would cuss around me. Um, so just having that background, God being ahead of my marriage, of my family, and then the advice I would give is like, I don't want to say like, okay, let me back up. As a creative, the hardest thing to do in life is to choose a career.
Mm,
I've created 4 kids, and being Vonda, like I try not to put music around them only because I wanted them to be carpenters or something like that. I don't want to hinder them, but the point is, when you're a creative, you want to do all things creative.
mm,
So, my son, when I was in Afghanistan, found guitar garage band on his phone. It was making full beats with 16 snare rolls, and I'm like, who show? How did you learn how to do this? I don't know. I just figured it out. It's in him. Now he can pick up a camera, and his pictures look if same as good quality as mine, if not better.
mm.
My daughter can sing her butt off, can play the piano, crochets. Zoe can sing her butt off. She draws. she's doing graphic novels, like creating them, like ridiculous. So the blood, like the musical blood is in the family. But I digress. So to get to answer your question, I would say one, try a bunch of different things to figure out what it is that you can do that doesn't feel like a chore. So
Mm,
like if you like doing it, then put some investment into that. And then once you do put whatever you put your investment in, see it through the end. Like don't have any regrets. Work 100% hard at it. Um, and then but also have some type of um foundation. And so yeah, I could literally drop what I'm doing and go to LA. I got contacts there. Anytime I go, I'm in the studio with people, and I could probably get a placement within a year. But will I have a family? So my foundation is like, well, I want my family. Oh, you can do both. Well, show me somebody who's done both.
right, right, right.
Not saying it's impossible, but show me somebody because the level, and then the people that are still together, well, now they're probably financially in a space to where, the wife is like, oh, yeah, I might as well just hang out.
Yeah, yeah,
But they had to go through some crap to get there. You can't tell me Ice Cube and his wife ain't went through some crap. They
right.
about like the only ones. And Will Smith and Jada was perfect until they crap came out, right? And then, Snoop, his whole divorce and get back together was all public. So we know like it's significantly difficult. Even what's the name? With Kirk Franklin, they do the plays, Mr. Brown
Oh yeah,
and
Mr.
him, Mr. Brown. Yeah, like they was on the Breakfast Club talking about, yeah, they sacrificed their kids because they was on tour with Tyler Perry for the whole like they sister raised their kids.
Wow.
And so is it a sacrifice? Are they successful? Yeah. But you're successful, and this is no shot of disrespect to them, but you're successful at the sacrifice of your children.
Mm, yeah,
So whether my kids appreciate what me and my wife are trying to do or not, it's nothing I can do about that. They're human. They're gonna have their own thought process. They might complain about something. Well, my parents was around too much. I don't know. But in my mind, it's like I'm gonna give you the opportunity to be around me and your wife, your mama, your mom, my wife, as much as possible. 'Cause yeah, like yeah, I have a couple accolades. They're cool. Yeah, I'm in the military. That's cool. I have different things that I can tell you about and teach you about. But I'm gonna be around. We're gonna pray together. We're gonna laugh together. We're gonna cry together. So that's my advice. Is with life. Life is short. It goes really fast. So look like try a couple different things, figure out what you like, and then just go 100% at it and
yeah,
leave it on the table and see what happens. But you're you're gonna have can't be scared to fail. You're gonna have setbacks. You're gonna have some adversity. But it's about it's like whether it's a kid or a mentor or when I have my label, I always tell people like it's not about it's about what you do. Like it's not about what happens, it's about what you do.
yeah, yeah.
Because things are gonna happen, but it's about what you do. It's about what you say. It's whatever your action is, and that's what separates you from the other person.
Mm,
Because for the for the 5 or 6 major placements I have, there's 1,000 of me and Yanni sitting in a car garage for 8 hours, waiting just to talk to a manager of a manager with
hmm.
no guarantee that the song is gonna get placed.
Yeah,
So when I had young producers like, yo, why don't you share some of them contacts? I'm like, yeah, nah. You gatekeeping. My beat's better. I said they probably are,
right.
but can you outwork me?
That's right.
Now, if you out hustling with me, like if Yanni be like, yo, let me get Babs info or whatever. All right, cool. Hey Babs, I'm about to shoot Yanni your info. Is that cool? Yeah, that's cool. All right, here you go. Cause I already know he hustling. He networking.
Yeah,
But if you just off the street and you hot young producer, well, go stand in line.
Mhm.
We was in that line for Trina for 2 hours.
That's right.
Like
That's
it looks sweet. I got the billboard plaque and everything. It looks sweet. But I was in line for 2 hours. I networked for months on end. I went to Miami. I spent money out of my own pocket. So to land the plane, like you say, figure out what it is. Like you might not know what you want to do, but try different things. And whatever you really like doing, that you can say, all right, I can do this without it being a pain, right? Like my job now, the reason why it's not like necessarily my I won't say it's like ideal job, whatever, but I can take care of my family and I'm cool doing it. Like it's not like something that I thought I would be doing when I was a kid, but it takes care of my family. It allows me the opportunity to go do other things, and that's cool. Now, when at some point, if I can scale up and I can just take pictures or do music and not have to, log in Monday through Friday, I would. But at the same time, I ran a studio for a year and realized like I don't like everybody's music.
yeah.
And I've done weddings and stuff like that and realized I don't know if I want all of the stress of trying to make sure I catch the kiss
Mm, yeah.
because it's fun when I get to do what I want. But when someone is telling me like I want you to do it like this and
Yeah.
make me sound like Snoop Dogg, it's like
That ain't realistic.
it ain't realistic. So make sure, and I tell my daughter this now because she wants to start a band. Like, make sure this is what you really want to do. And
Mhm.
if you don't, that's okay. But if you're gonna do it, what's your band name?
Yep.
We gotta get a trademark. She's like, Dad, I'm like, what? If you're gonna do it, you gotta do it.
Gotta own it,
Otherwise, you're gonna waste your time. So
man.
that's all I got.
Bro, you gave a lot of gems, man. A lot of gems, bro. Matlock, I really appreciate you, man. I told you earlier, I look up to you. You my big dog. What I really appreciate you is how you love and lead your wife and raise your kids, man. And simultaneously, obviously, I know the gifts, I know like the talents, but like you prioritize the main thing. And so I appreciate you being you, man. It was a pleasure being able to like make music to your productions. I'm excited about more projects in the future, man. But I think you just unpacking all the gems today really is encouragement, man, because there's so many buckets of our lives, and I think we need wisdom and direction to navigate all those buckets, man. So I appreciate you, bro. That's all I
Appreciate you.
got. Yeah, man. It's all love, man. Look, I'm gonna let you get back to the queen. You be blessed, man, and we'll connect real soon, big dog.
For sure. I'm about to go to the gym.
Hey, get swole.
All
All right.
right, man. Take care.
See you. Peace.
Better late than never, better late than never, forever hard to measure. I might see my future fall away, but you control time, so my future do what you say.